Navajo belief is that there's a journey that was taken from the beginning of time, really, from the first world. As each world became chaos and unfriendly, people moved on. They came to this world, which they call the glittering world.
What separates the Yazzies, I think, from many other very fine craftsmen, I think it is really the insistence on using the finest materials with the finest craftsmanship. They remain in the place that they are comfortable with, which is Gallup. I do not see a difference between the way they live, the way they think, and what they create. So it's all of a piece.
Jewelry is a very significant part of Navajo culture. It's really a reflection and a relationship between the individual and the stone. It's a relationship with the land. It's a relationship with everything that's Navajo.
I treat each stone, each piece of turquoise, like they were my children. I look at the stone and then I say, okay, how can we help each other? I said, I know I need your help, and you need mine to come to life.
Just in terms of, color, the coral is female and the turquoise is male. There is a balance in between the colors. It goes into something that is balanced. It's not just design, and it's not at its face value.
Sometimes I spend hours just figuring out which color should go in there. But the neat thing about it is that you think you have the right one, you cut it, you polish it, and then all of a sudden you lose it in the process of it, and that tells you, that color wasn't the one that needs to go in there.
In my teaching, that I was taught that every living thing, plants and even rocks, and stuff, has a spirit. That's why we think that turquoise is a sacred stone to the Navajos, because it has a spirit. If I connect to that spirit, that's how I create. That's how I can treat it the best way possible.
You think of it as, the way people cut diamonds. You cut the least amount off those little pieces of rock. And I treat Long Mountain and Landers and even some of my coral, I treat it the same way as that. You try to cut the least amount off of there as you can. So I've always learned to sit there and study it the best way. Even though, you don't cut it that day, you put it off to the side and, you look at it and look at it and look at it to see what the best piece is in there.
The imagination, the creativity is really a strength of our culture, to where the contemporary jewelry artists are just, they're pushing the boundaries. I think that it is a very strong part of Navajo culture.
I guess in a way I really can't explain how I do things. It's just a natural thing that as I start inlaying, designs start developing, and all of a sudden you see figures or you see certain things, or the color start coming together, and you start hunting, cutting for certain colors that has to be in a certain place.
Raymond's work, he has gone with the inlay technique. He works with color. He relies on color. Lee relies on the shade and shadow created through silver work, through fine line work, the chisel work, and turquoise.
When I see something here, sometimes it's kind of vague. Sometimes it's abstract, and stuff. Sometimes it's really vivid. I can even turn it in my mind, and stuff. But they don't stay there. I can't retrieve it once I see it that way. So the challenge for me is to try to remember everything that I saw or envisioned. Even my wife questioned if I really work at the shop, So one day I come home and then she said, "So Lee, so what did you do today?" And then I said, "Oh, I was rendering." She looks at me and says, "You were just drawing? What a waste of time," she said. And I said, "Oh, hold it there." I said, without putting it on paper, without laying it out to measurement, nothing's going to happen.
Hojon is more than just beauty as an interpretation. As the jeweler works on pieces, it could also be subjective, that he reaches into his own depths to reflect certain things in what he's doing. Implementation of Hojon is in how he approaches that piece of work.
So I just can't get over the fact that how some of these things come together. I look at a person, I look at people, and then I come up with all these ideas. I said, how can I enhance that beautiful being, that beautiful face? I said, I know I can't better that beauty. I said, but I can put something on there and make it look almost like it's a natural part of them. And then it dawned on me that this is what an artist does.
For a lot of the younger artists, they want to come to my shop. They want to see what I use. They want to see the tools that I have. But I always tell them, I use the same tools that you do. There's nothing different that I have that you don't have. It's just a matter of sitting there and being patient and taking the time to do it. That's all it is,
I was once asked by some youth, so what's your favorite tool? And then I pick up a ruler. I said, this is very essential. And then I pick up my jewelry saw. I said, that's so important and stuff. And then all of a sudden, my hands went here. I said, the brain, the mind. That's a very important tool. If you don't have anything in here, these won't know what to do.
My art is the most important thing in my life, besides my wife and my kids, I think that's one thing that I was taught to care for. You develop it the best way that you can, and you take care of it the best way that you can.
People worry about all the time going to shows And when they don't get the award that they think they deserve, or they'll criticize the one that won, or says, that piece that won, that wasn't even good enough, or my piece was better, and all that kind of stuff. I told to my brother Raymond, I said, when I come in here, I said, I do the very best that I can. I said, I don't let anything go out of here, out of my hands, until I know I can do everything that needs to be done to it. And then when it leaves, goes out of my hands, and then somebody buys it, and then I see that person wearing that piece that I made, and it looks just right on them. And then I said to my brother, now that's my best of show.
You're never going to be a master in the time that you work on what you make, because we all learn something new every day. We teach ourselves something new every day. To be called the master, you have to realize that you have mastered every technique there is in your lifetime. Between Lee and I, we have an understanding about being called the master. We appreciate people calling us that, but in a way, I don't think in our lifetime, we will ever call ourselves masters.
I have a lot of challenges in here, the work that I do, and when I tell that to people, they're kind of surprised. So one of those days arrived, and I was having a real tough time. So I went home, and at dinner time, I told my wife and daughter, I said, I made another major mistake in my work. And then my daughter says, Dad, he says, I thought you were the master.
I think it's more than art. I think jewelry is more than art. Art has to reflect something that you see relevance with. And so if you don't see that relevance, then it's kind of sterile. Navajo jewelry is more like a living thing. It's more something that you can see pride in the workmanship that was done by the jeweler. It's a relationship with everything that's Navajo, because you see duality in it, you see color, you see representations of things that go back to the holy people. I mean, it's all those things that come together in a piece of jewelry that's worn.
I began to really see the art as a series of connections. And it made an enormous difference between static art that is simply decorative and art that grows out of deeply held beliefs, respect for the ancestors, respect for the family. All of that really goes into this work. The work is growing out of many layers of information that speak to us, so that when we see these pieces, they have a life force quality that is drawing us to them.